A collection of whispers. Grayville is a small town in Virginia, where strangers rarely visited. Old houses with tiled roofs, streets where the wind walked, and the eternal smell of dampness made it look like the scenery for a movie about ghosts. But the locals had a rule: after midnight, no one should be on the outskirts, near the old Holloway mansion. Megan Carter, a 28-year-old writer from New York, came here at the invitation of a lawyer. Her distant relative, about whom she knew almost nothing, bequeathed her this very house. For Megan, tired of the city noise and the creative crisis, the trip to the province seemed like a chance to start a new chapter of life. The mansion met her with cold. It smelled of dust, wood and something else inside, as if the walls had absorbed other people's words. The house was huge. Wide stairs, endless corridors, rooms with heavy curtains. But most of all, Megan was struck by the library. Hundreds of books, diaries, notes, and among them, an old table, on which lay a shabby leather notebook. On the first page, the following was displayed in a neat handwriting: "The house is listening. The house remembers. The house whispers. But don't answer him, otherwise you'll become a part of it." Megan grinned, deciding that it was a strange attempt to scare the heirs. But at night, when the wind rose outside the windows, she heard what the inscription warned about. At first, a slight rustling, as if the pages of books were flipping through by themselves. Then there are quiet voices. They came from everywhere, from the fireplace, from the walls, from the ceiling. Voices whispered her name. Megan. Megan. She turned on the light, but nothing changed. The whispers became louder, intertwining, as if someone had gathered for a secret meeting right inside the house. The floorboards creaked in the corridor. The girl, trembling, came out with a flashlight. The light snatched old portraits on the walls from the darkness. It seemed that the figures on them turned their heads, watching her every step. On the second floor, the door to one of the rooms was ajar. Particularly distinct words were heard from the inside. "You're here. You can hear us. You shouldn't have entered." Megan pushed the door. There was a large mirror in a heavy frame in the room, and she saw herself in it. But the reflection moved a little slower. And behind her back in the mirror, there were silhouettes. Dark, without faces, but with the outlines of people. They stood in a close group, and each whispered. The room behind her was empty, but there were more and more of them in the mirror. "What do you need?" whispered Megan. The answer came immediately, merging with hundreds of voices. "We are a congregation. We are the ones the house listened to. And now he's listening to you." At that moment, the mirror trembled, and from the depths the silhouettes took a step forward. Megan pulled away from the mirror, but the silhouettes were already pulling out of it, as if darkness was finding an exit to her world. Whispers merged into a hum, in which it was impossible to analyze individual words, but the meaning was clear. The house demanded her attention, her answer. She ran out into the corridor, but it was also full of voices. The walls seemed to be talking, the floorboards were moaning, the portraits were coming to life. There were silhouettes in every dark corner. They did not attack, did not touch it, but surrounded it, gradually squeezing the space until the whole mansion turned into a continuous collection of shadows. Megan returned to the library in a panic. There was a leather notebook on the table, and now the pages were scrolling by themselves until they stopped at the last one, where it was written. "The house is always waiting for a new voice. Whispers can't stop. They're looking for those who will answer. The one who answers will stay here forever." She was out of breath. She realized, all these silhouettes are not ghosts, but those who once answered home. They became part of the assembly. Her reflection flashed in the mirror opposite the library shelves. But it no longer repeated her movements. The reflection looked directly at her, her lips moved, although Megan herself was silent. "Say at least a word, and you'll be with us," sounded from the inside. She covered her ears with her hands, but the whispers didn't stop. They were inside her head, inside her heart. And the more she resisted, the stronger the silence outside became. Any other sound has disappeared in the house, neither wind nor creaking. Only voices. And suddenly in this cacophony she heard one familiar voice. Quiet, masculine. The voice of her father, who died many years ago. "Megan, I'm here. Don't be afraid. Answer them. You'll hear me again." Tears came to her eyes. My heart was breaking. Part of her wanted to throw herself into this sea of voice, to believe that her father was really calling her. But the mind understood, it's a trap. She picked up the voice recorder she always carried with her. I pressed record, and said in a trembling but firm voice, "I hear you, but I won't answer you." At that moment, the walls of the house roared like the living. Whispers turned into a hole, the mirror cracked, and the silhouettes began to dissolve in the air, one by one. Father's voice was cut off last. Megan jumped out into the street. The dawn was just beginning, and the house behind it looked as if it had never lived, grey, empty, cold. A light echo whispered came from the windows, but it stopped until only silence remained. She knew, the house was not destroyed. He's just waiting for the next heir, the next listener. But now he didn't have her voice. Megan got into the car, turned on the voice recorder and listened to the recording. She had only her voice on it. "I hear you. But I won't answer you." And then there's silence. But at the very end, before the recording was cut off, there was a short, barely audible whisper. "So far." Megan turned off the voice recorder and started the engine. Grayville stayed behind. But with him, fear settled in her heart forever. What if one day the house speaks again, and this time she answers?